Arsenal need to act fast. There's more than two things that I'm hearing in the past 24 hours that I'm thinking, even if one of these things don't happen, it could definitely impact our season going forward. We also need to be speaking about Calafiori because I think there's a bit of an injury scare going around on Calafiori, so I just want to update you guys on that as well. But before we get into it, just very quickly, do me a favour, hit like on this video. So the first place we're going to start is Mikel Merino. You know, this is a deal that so many people have been reporting. This deal's basically done. Arsenal have got Mikel Merino. But in the past, like I said, last night, it was starting to break that Mikel Merino might even stay at Real Sociedad. This player's been offered another year extension and he's seriously considering signing it. Now, I always have to kind of warn you guys that when I make these videos, all I can do is go off news that I've just heard. It could still be the case that in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, Mikel Merino signs. But the news coming out, the latest, is Mikel Merino could still be staying at Real Sociedad for another season because he's very interested in joining Barcelona. What's your initial thoughts when you hear that? You know, do you think Arsenal need to start panicking now and buying a player? I think there's two different ways to look at it. The first way is, look, Arsenal need central midfield reinforcements, undoubtedly. Mikel Merino was close to being done, so they do need to go and do it. The second, you can look at it and say, no, we don't need to rush. There definitely needs to be patient in transfer windows. I understand that. I'm sure a lot of you guys understand that. It's not always the best thing you want to hear, just have patience, have patience. But that could be the case with this Mikel Merino deal. It could just be the case of him waiting and Barcelona saying, look, we're not going to be able to afford you. Mikel Merino could then say, right, Arsenal, I'm happy to join you. Some people won't want that. Some people would say, if this player don't want to join Arsenal because he's waiting for Barcelona, then why are we even going for him? I read a story last night of Arsenal are still interested in Aaron Ramsdale for a Bruno Guimaraes plus cash kind of deal. I don't know how valid that is. I've only read one article on that. So if I'm looking at that and trying to bring you guys some substance in some transfer targets, I haven't heard anything personally on that yet. I know people are talking about it, so I just wanted to bring it in. But on this Mikel Merino deal, you know, there's not long until the season starts. We've got 1 week and 5 days until the season starts. So Arsenal, you would think, would want to get that central midfield position sorted because it's a position that is so pivotal going forward. I think we've heard some good news in the yesterday that Nwaneri and skelly have been kept training with the first team while all the other youngsters have been going back to the academies, to the under-18s, 21s, whoever they play for. So that's definitely some good news. I think some people are thinking we need to be replacing Emil Smith-Rowe, but I'm looking at it and saying Nwaneri is probably the guy to take those minutes off Emil Smith-Rowe. So I wouldn't be worrying in necessarily replacing Smith-Rowe. But Merino, I think, is definitely an extra body that we need. So that is kind of a target that I'd be looking at because I'd be thinking, look, Jorginho can be a great player, but he's a year older. Some people were saying he was too old last season. He definitely has lost some legs, Jorginho. So if you're going into a new season, you know, kind of fully depending on Jorginho, you might be in a bit of trouble. And that's in the hopes that Thomas Partey can stay fit for the whole season. We all understand and are frustrated with the injury concerns over Thomas Partey. He misses large proportions, the majority at times of a season because he just can't seem to stay fit. He's always getting injured. So if you don't bring in another central midfielder, I think we're going to struggle. Like I said, it's good news that we're going to have Nwaneri and skelly, and these guys could be pivotal for Arsenal next season, but they're not going to be ready to play some of these massive games that we're going to have coming up. So I definitely think a central midfielder could be top of the list. But also we heard news that Arsenal want to bring in an attacker as well. So we need to get a move on. This is what I'm saying. We need to act fast. We've got 1 week and 5 days until the season starts. And Arsenal are still saying, or the news out there is Arsenal still want to bring in attacking reinforcements, whether it be a winger or a striker. Arsenal still want to bring in a central midfielder. You haven't got long until the season starts. And it's always better to bring these players and try and bed them in before the season starts. If you bring them in now, there's still not going to be that much time anyway. I mean, some good news yesterday was, or a couple of days ago, Rice and Saka is now back in full training for Arsenal. But like I said, will these guys even make that first game? We play Wolves, like I said, in a week and 5 days. Do you expect Saka and Rice to be available for that game? Or do you think that's a game where we're probably just going to have to play some of the other players? It'd be interesting because look at our first 5 games of the season. Who have we got in there? We got Tottenham, we got Aston Villa, we got Man City, we got Wolves. We got so many good teams that we can't afford to be having players out or not bringing in our transfer targets. And this is why I said I wouldn't panic just yet. I'm not trying to create some hysteria. All I'm saying is, in my opinion, Arsenal need to act fast because I don't want to be left behind. I want us to have a good start in this season because, like I said, the games are so difficult and we can't afford to have any players not ready for the season or have transfer targets brought in right at the end of the window. If that does happen, then it happens. Like I said, you do at times need patience in a transfer market, but at the same time, when you are going for a title, you know, you would like to think that you want to have all your business sorted. I understand it doesn't always work like that, but in my opinion, I would like to have it sorted. I'm sure you guys would as well, but let me know your thoughts on it. Also, Calafiori, there was kind of a couple of stories going around a couple of days ago saying Calafiori's set to miss a period on the sidelines because he's being injured, and I saw a lot of people reacting to it on social media, a lot of people panicking, of course, because we saw what happened with Jurrien Timber last season. Plays one game, gets injured, misses the whole season. So some people I saw were panicking, saying, oh my God, we brought in Calafiori and now we're going to miss him for a part of the season. But we saw him in training, so I don't think there's anything to worry about. We're seeing Saliba's back with Arsenal now, and I'm just so excited to see how that defence lines up. Like I said, I spoke about it yesterday in terms of Timber and Calafiori, who's going to start in that position. It's definitely interesting because there are some rumours going around that Calafiori is set to start, but my understanding was always that Jurrien Timber will come in, kind of like a Raya and Ramsdale situation. Which one of you guys mentioned in the comment section? It will be Ramsdale at first, and then they try to bed Raya in, and I think that will be the same with Timber. Timber will start out there, and then I think Calafiori eventually will be bedded in to play that position. But Calafiori will still get plenty of games, and if it's the other way around, like I said, Timber will still get games. There's so many games for Arsenal, like last season, what was it? Arteta was being accused of not rotating enough. Arsenal have strength in depth in that defence now where they can rotate in, you know, even games where you're thinking some of the better teams, some of the top 6, 7, the 8th best team in the Premier League, you can rotate against them now because the drop-off between Ben White and Jurrien Timber on that right-hand side wouldn't be a million miles. The drop-off from Gabriel to Calafiori probably wouldn't be that much. I know so many people love that centre-back partnership, and I would agree with you. I probably wouldn't mess around with that too much. But in terms of that left-back and right-back position, we saw Ben White play so many minutes last season. So if Ben White has to miss a game to give Jurrien Timber some minutes, I think that will just keep the back line looking so much fresher. And I think that's why I want to get these deals done, because I think you do need that in central midfield as well. Like I said, you can't rely on Thomas Partey with his injury record. You can't rely on Jorginho with, like I said, him being a year older. Fantastic player, has plenty of ability, has some flaws as well that we need to be aware of. But I would just like to see another central midfielder in there. I would love to be in a position where we can rotate that central midfield to keep it fresh. And I think we need to, because like I said, because of Jorginho, because of Partey, we definitely need an extra body in there. And we can't rely on Declan Rice to do everything. I think Mikel Arteta probably will be forced to play Havertz in that dreaded number 8 position that so many people hate to see him in, because Arsenal are quite thin in midfield, if I'm being honest. I think we have some fantastic players, but in terms of longevity, in terms of being able to grind out 20, 30, 40 games in a row, Arsenal's midfield isn't that. I think Declan Rice is probably the only guy that can do that. Plus, we've lost Emile Smith-Rowe. So there's a guy that you can't depend on to jump into that number 8 position when needed sometimes. It will transfer over to Nwaneri, in my opinion. Some people are interested to see Nwaneri in that number 8, in that number 10 position, in Odegaard's position. I think he can play there as well. I think he's not going to dislodge Odegaard, so maybe it will be an opportunity to rest Odegaard, though. Again, another player who played so many minutes, but with Odegaard, he never comes across to me like a player who's flagging, like a player who's fatiguing. He just always seems so majestic, so brilliant on the ball that I never doubt that Martin Odegaard, or I never look at him and think, oh God, this guy's tired, he needs a bit of rest. But it's always good to have options. Let me know your thoughts on everything you've heard in this video. What's your thoughts on Mikel Merino? The fact that he could be staying at Real Sociedad for another season, the fact that he's interested more so in Barcelona, does that sway your opinion on Moreno? Does that make you think we need to maybe be looking at someone else? Let me know. What's your thoughts on Nwaneri, Luis Skelly? Do you think these are guys that can stay in the squad? I think we've asked this question a couple of times, but the fact that we're now seeing them being kept with the first squad to keep in that training circle, very interesting. Rice and Saka, will they be available for the start of the season? And let me know your thoughts on everything else. Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. Before you go, if you could, like I said, just do me a favor, hit like on this video, just like it and subscribe, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.